Hello! I think I've resigned myself to the fact that I might have very well destroyed my voice. I think this might be it from here on, folks. I don't know. But that's not what we're here to talk about. Today, we're here to talk about poor people and how they spend their money. I guess. I don't even really know.
Alright, here's the thing. I have this really controversial opinion that poor people deserve nice things every once in a while.
Well, what do you mean by deserve? Do you mean get through earning? Or just deserve to be given stuff based on the fact that they're poor and nothing else?
I think poor people don't have to be constantly suffering and
Well, I don't think they should have to either. But they do because of their lot in life. If they improve their lot in life, they won't struggle as much anymore.
struggling. I don't know why that's controversial, but here we are. You've
It's because of the question of desert, Riley. What do people really deserve?
probably seen these graphics from Fox News that everyone made fun of a few years ago where they were saying that poor people aren't really poor if they have refrigerators and microwaves.
I think they were talking about our poverty line. Like, we have a poverty line. And our poverty line is above some countries' middle income line. So I think they were just putting shit into perspective as far as a worldwide thing. That we have it pretty fucking good in this country. Even our poor people still have amenities like refrigerators and microwaves.
More recently, you may have heard about bills being proposed to stop poor people from spending food stamp money on soda, fast food, steak, lobster, all that kind of stuff.
You know, all that stuff that's not healthy for you.
Or programs being put in place to drug test welfare recipients.
Which is just crazy. I mean, how are you expected to get a job if you keep failing a drug test?
To me, it seems like all of this stuff kind of stems from like two ideas. The first is that poor people have to be in a constant state of suffering to really be poor.
No, they need to make beneath a certain line of income in order to be poor. Your amount of suffering is dependent on how you live your life and what life throws at you. But there are a lot of really happy poor people out, you know, like, okay.
So if they have any kind of nice thing in their life, they're suddenly not poor and shouldn't be allowed to receive any kind of government assistance.
What?
The second part of this is that people think they're entitled to morally dictate the lives of welfare recipients because technically they're being paid with taxpayer money.
Well, people think that they're allowed to morally dictate what I spend my money on, even though I'm not on any sort of taxpayer anything. So, fucking, what are you talking about?
For the first part of that, I think people just have no concept of what it's like to be poor. Like, a refrigerator is a pretty basic amenity in the US. You kinda need it to store food. I can imagine like 500 scenarios where someone has a refrigerator and is still struggling financially.
Yeah, that's why it's so awesome to live in America. You can be poor and still have nice shit.
It's not like a fridge is some opulent sign of wealth. You could easily be living paycheck to paycheck, barely being able to afford your rent and eating instant ramen for dinner every night, while still living in an apartment with a fridge.
What the fuck is... What point are you trying to make, Riley?
But that's not the only thing. Like, a lot of poor families have cars. A car is often a necessity in areas that don't have a good public transportation system. And lots of jobs even discriminate against people who don't have a reliable form of transportation.
Discriminate? Really? Are you going to be able to get to work on time every day? Well, maybe. I don't have a car. Well, we need somebody that's going to be able to get here every day. So unless you can guarantee us in some way that you're going to be able to get here every day, we can't hire you because we need somebody to be able to come to work. That shit ain't discrimination, Riley. That's fucking facts of life.
So if a person or a family is able to save up for a car somehow, that doesn't automatically mean they're not poor anymore. You can be
It also didn't mean that they didn't earn it the good old-fashioned way by saving up and getting it. They deserved it because they earned it. That's how life works.
struggling financially and have some old beat-up car that you use to get to work. Things that may have once been luxuries are now relatively accessible, like smartphones, for instance. Lots of people seem to think that anyone who can afford a smartphone is not poor, but not every smartphone is a $700 iPhone. In fact, you can buy a smartphone on Amazon for like 50 bucks now. And actually, lots of poor people rely on smartphones for accessing the internet, because in the US in 2017, you really need access to the internet to be able to function as a part of modern society. Internet access is essential for finding jobs, paying bills, doing your taxes, and just generally keeping up with everything that's going on. But even if someone has a cheap smartphone, an old car, and a refrigerator, it's not like they're suddenly middle class or wealthy. You can have all of those things and still have a job that barely pays enough to cover your rent.
Yeah, but you could be living in the middle of sub-Saharan Africa or some shit like that, not have any of that stuff, and really fucking be poor.
I don't know what people expect. Like, everyone who has a roof over their head is financially secure? That's just not reality. Financial security requires a lot more than a refrigerator. It requires higher wages, because that's what being poor is. It's an income level. That's it. And if people want to splurge on some things using their very limited income, they have every right to do that.
Yeah, if you go out, if you work and you earn money, you have every right to spend your money on whatever you want to. What are you talking about? Like, it's an income problem. Well, do better at your job and ask for more raises. I don't know. Get good work experience working at a low-end job and then work your way up the chain into better and better jobs. That's how fucking life works. Nobody starts off making $15 an hour, Riley. Nobody does. Except for people who've got decades worth of experience in a certain field. They start off at higher wages because they have work experience. But you don't get that work experience starting at the top. You start at the bottom, Riley. Everybody's poor starting out. Everybody. When I was working at a fucking pizza place and I was living on my own and I still had to pay rent and bills and shit, but I was delivering pizzas for a living, I didn't get to have nice shit because I had to pay for fucking rent. I wasn't eating steak and lobster because I couldn't afford that shit because it was stupid to pay for. What are you talking about, Riley? Like,
if someone manages to spend less money on certain things so they can afford a nicer car or a nicer smartphone, that's up to them. We all prioritize our money differently. Some people spend more money on entertainment, like video games and movies and going out. Others spend more money on their clothes or their makeup or their car. People are different and will prioritize things differently, even if they're working with very limited resources.
Yeah? What does this have to do? This is all personal choices, Riley. All of this is personal choices. What does this have to do with anything? Why are we even talking about this?
I hate the idea that poor people all have to live the exact same life where they eat beans and rice and instant ramen every day and never splurge on anything and are constantly working and working and working to earn more money.
We know some poor people in some places don't eat shit ever at all, like until they die. That's a real fact of life, Riley. In some countries, people are for real fucking poor. The reason why we laugh about poor people in America is because, Jesus Christ, by comparison, they're not really poor. They're poor for Americans. Like, that means something. That should mean something. That should show something. Our poor people are considered rich by the standards of really fucking poor people in some parts of the country. That's why it's almost a joke to say that you're poor. Because you still have an apartment. You still have a fridge. You still have a microwave. You still have a car, a smartphone, an Xbox. You have all this shit. Yeah, maybe you don't have a real nice house. And maybe you don't have a real flash car. But you know what? You got something. That's a hell of a lot more than poor people who have fucking nothing.
People, regardless of their income level, deserve to feel joy sometimes. People deserve to relax and have some time to themselves. If someone has a bad day and wants to get McDonald's on the way home from work rather than cooking an entire meal at home, that's their business.
Honestly, that shit's actually more cost effective. It's cheaper to buy two, fucking dollar cheeseburgers a couple times a day and just eat that. It's not good for you, but it's cheaper than buying food at the grocery store and preparing a whole fucking meal. Like, there's a little bit of cost effectiveness in that, Riley. I don't really know what you're getting at.
If someone wants to relax after a long week at work by buying a video game or going out with their friends, they have every right to do that.
Yeah, if they save the money and they earn the right to buy it by saving the money, then yeah, they should. What the fuck are you talking about, Riley?
Poor people shouldn't have to be in a constant state of struggle, suffering all day, every day for their experiences to be valid.
And I remember a time where the big buzz phrase was, I don't need your validation. I am my own person. I am who I am. My situation is real to me. I don't need you to validate anything about my existence. That used to be the phrase. Now everybody needs validation of some sort or another. And if you're trying to say anything, if you're questioning anything, you're reducing their validate. Fuck your validation, Riley. I am my own person. I don't need your validation.
Lots of people who are in a really tough spot financially will spend money on stuff that makes them feel good, and that's okay. Because people aren't robots. You can't expect people to never want to treat themselves. Mentally, we need to feel good every once in a while. We need to take care of ourselves, and sometimes that requires spending money on things that aren't technically necessary for survival, but are very necessary for living. And those things are subjective. Everyone has different things that they'll like and spend money on. But okay, so maybe you're okay with poor people spending their own money on that.
It's just trivial. It's just mindless fucking trivial. There are some things in life that are necessary, but those necessary things are different for every people. Well, that makes them not necessary. If they were necessary, they would be necessary for all people. Food, water, shelter, a vehicle. These things are all necessary for people. Like, and even vehicles are sketchy. So, what? Video games and clothes, like, clothes, yeah, is a necessity, but, like, lots of clothes, lots of video games, shit's not necessary. I don't care what your fucking subjective outlook is, this shit isn't necessary.
But what about when they're on welfare? Because then they're spending your money.
That's right. My money. My taxpayer money that is sold to us as if it was a contribution into a charity of some sort or another. You give us X amount of money out of your paycheck every week, and we will put that money towards our altruistic humanitarian goals. It's forced charity. Nevertheless, we're okay with it. We never question it. We're fine with it because it's still charity and we're okay with it. But, you know, it still has to remain charity. When it becomes a fucking enforced handout, that's very different.
When we talk about welfare, we're usually talking about food stamps through the SNAP program or income assistance through the TANF program. Both of these things are relatively small chunks of the federal budget, but they're definitely still taxpayer funded. So shouldn't we have a say in exactly what poor people can buy with the money that's given to them through these programs? No, of course.
Yes, to a degree, absolutely. Because I would much rather my money go towards, you know, feeding the desperate families, children, and the parents, and clothing them and making sure that they're getting to work on time and providing for themselves so that they can make those leapfrogs in life. I would much rather go towards that than drugs and hookers.
Because those people still deserve autonomy in how they choose to spend their money. It sounds really dystopian to imagine a society where rich people spend their money however they want while giving a small percentage of their money to poor people and then dictating exactly how those poor people can spend their money because of that.
I get it now. I get it now. I get it now. I get it now. So, in the beginning of this video, Riley has established poor people as your everyday people who are struggling, which includes the middle class. The middle class, we're all struggling. So a middle class person might watch this, and if they're fucking retarded, they'll look at it and go, well, I'm a poor person. I got a refrigerator and a shitty car, and I struggle, and I'm living fucking check to check. No. You're not poor, you're middle class. Like, but notice the rich people can spend their money however they want, and the poor people that I have made this broad generalization of, they have to have dictated to them. No. It's everybody who pays into the tax system and people on welfare. You're not talking about just rich people, Riley. The poor people who still work and have jobs and pay taxes, it's including them too, Riley. All the people you've been talking about up to this point. When you're talking about welfare people, you're talking about people that are poorer than poor people. Because the poor people that you describe that have jobs yet are still struggling, they are paying taxes. They are paying for those poor people to spend their money on whatever it is that they feel is necessary. When some of the things they feel is necessary ain't fucking necessary.
Like, your employer, just because they pay you, isn't allowed to tell you what kind of food to buy or what kind of stuff you're allowed to spend money on.
No, because I provide a service to my employer, and I am paid a fair wage for that service. I do for them, and in trade, they give me money. It isn't their money to say what I can do with it anymore because I've earned it. It's mine now. It's mine through sweat and blood and hard labor. So I can do with it what I please because it is mine. It wasn't given to me for the purpose of just giving it to me. This isn't charity. When you work and get paid, it isn't charity. You're earning.
The same goes for taxpayers and welfare recipients.
No, because welfare recipients provide no service to the taxpayer. They don't do anything for the taxpayer except collect a check. They work towards, or at least they should be working towards, getting off of welfare so that the taxpayer no longer has to help them up. Your ideas are all very fucking warped, Riley. I don't understand how you even think you're going to pass this shit off as fucking anything other than retarded ramblings.
But at the end of the day, I know this isn't about following the money. It's about poor people. Because without counting military personnel, the government employs almost 3 million people. That includes US Postal Service workers, judges, congresspeople, and even the president. So it's weird that we have different standards for poor people being paid by taxpayer money and federal employees being paid by taxpayer money.
No, we don't have different standards for that. Postal workers, military personnel, congressmen, senators, presidents, they perform a service to the taxpayer base. They are quite literally working for all of us who pay taxes, right? And they themselves pay taxes. Their shit isn't fucking tax-free. So, I don't know how in the fuck you can compare people on welfare to the President of the United States of America, Riley. I'll never fucking... My name is Jeff. My name is Jeff.
Maybe instead of worrying if poor people are spending their fixed monthly welfare money on a $2 soda, we could instead worry about Trump's $1 to $3 million trips to his golf course every weekend. Or maybe we could require that all federal employees, including congresspeople, be paid minimum wage and not be allowed to buy anything except rice and beans and instant ramen. I mean, obviously we shouldn't do that, but can't you see how ridiculous it sounds that everyone paid by taxpayer money has to live like?
Oh my God. I fucking... Like, It's the most retarded comparison a human being can make, I think. Honestly. Getting money, getting a handout for doing nothing compares to a fucking postal worker that works 6 days a week for neither rain nor snow nor sleet nor hail.
Oh, and one last thing, drug testing welfare recipients. Every program that has ever been put in place to do that has actually cost taxpayers more money because testing is expensive and they rarely ever catch anyone. I don't think I need to make a lengthy argument about that. The data is pretty clear.
So because we're not catching anybody, just fucking fuck the whole process. Like, sadly, I want to agree because, you know, I don't really like drug testing. I don't have any good reason to not like drug testing. It's an invasion of personal privacy, I think. Sure, we'll go with that. But, you know, because I don't do drugs. I always talk about how doing drugs is bad. You shouldn't do drugs. Doing drugs is awful. But yeah, I don't think people should be tested for doing drugs. But, like, you can't get a job without being able to pass a drug test. Like I said, welfare isn't just a thing we do and we go, oh, you're poor? Awesome, we'll just give you money then. Like, it's not an alternate form of life. It's a stepping stone to get you someplace further. You want to be on welfare until you get a job. When you get a job, then you're fucking getting on your feet and then the struggle really begins. Like, then you have to make something of yourself. Like, so... It's just, you have to be able to pass a drug test to get a job. So if you're going to be on welfare, you're on welfare until you get a job. So you have to be able to pass a drug test to get a job. You have to be able to pass a drug test to stay on fucking welfare. Because otherwise, you're just mooching off the fucking system. And you don't deserve that. But I do think we should test people.
But just on a moral level, I think it's wrong to deny someone money that they need for food or rent just because they smoke weed or something like that.
I want to agree, but at the same time, it's like the reality of the situation just isn't fucking there. you have to be able to pass a drug test to get a job. And in a lot of jobs, you have to be able to pass a drug test to be able to maintain that job. So, like, I think they even drug test for, like, McDonald's and shit now. I'm not entirely sure, but, like, you have to be able to pass a drug test to get a job, Riley. And if your motivations for getting money is to do drugs, sooner or later that leads you to not being able to do your job so well. So, like, if you can practice moderation and if you can fly under the radar, good for you. You're not hurting anybody. But for those people that can't keep their shit under control, sooner or later that's going to reflect poorly on the company. And a lot of companies, it's dangerous. Factory work, that shit is dangerous. If you're driving a tow motor, you can't be high and driving a tow motor. Believe me, that doesn't fucking work. Like, being sober and driving a tow motor, you have problems because it's a completely different monster. Even if you have a lot of great experience, it's a difficult fucking thing to do with precision. And precision is what you need when you're driving heavy machinery around human beings. You need to be able to be fucking precise. You need to be able to be sharp, crisp. Weed is a background drug, right? But you're not going to be crisp. So, lives are at stake here, Riley. Lives are at stake. You got to be able to pass a drug test.
Get over it. Let people live their lives. So yeah, basically it's not your job to tell other people how they spend their money. Everyone, including poor people, deserves to be able to spend their money on whatever makes them happy. You know, the pursuit of happiness and all that.
The pursuit of happiness, you fucking idiot. It is the pursuit of happiness. It isn't the gift of happiness. If it was the fucking gift of happiness, everything you'd say made sense. But it's the fucking pursuit of happiness. You're expected to work during a pursuit. You're pursuing something. There's effort that must be involved. If you want happiness, by all means, go out and get it. I feel that every person deserves to be able to get every bit of happiness they can possibly squeeze out of life. But in order to squeeze something, you gotta put fucking effort into it. Like, God damn, it's fucking... You're never going to just have everything given to you, Riley. It isn't going to happen. And you can't expect that, because that's retarded. Everybody else is trying to make something of themselves and do something with their lives. And you just want fucking people to be able to just go, I just don't want to work, and get paid for that. And no, it isn't going to fucking happen. God damn it. Oh, God, just... I'm done. You know what? It's fair to say that she's broken me. Riley's broken me. I can't. I just can't do it anymore.